Okay, hey guys, it's Michael and Pam, and we're back for our second try of our second. Um, that's so funny. Our second YouTube for the top 10 issues in cats and how to prevent them. How are you doing, Pam?
I'm doing good. I hope we don't have the gremlins all night.
I know, but we sound like we were doing pretty good this time. It's just like probably one of those weird connections.
So strange. Okay, so as long as we're as long as we sound good, that's great. That's awesome.
We are good. We are
We're
good.
gonna take it.
How was your week?
It was good. It was busy. Lots of kitties to
Lots
help.
of kitties. And you
Hmm.
mentioned it's windy there. How's
Oh my
your
God.
weather there? Is it warming up or is it just what's going on in
It's
Texas?
it's like it's in the 60s and it was like 30 knots, like wind gusts of 30 knots today. It was trash cans are being like blown across the street. It's like insane,
Oh my.
absolutely insane. But the weather's beautiful. It's just like you feel like you're in a windstorm when you go outside.
Yeah, it got really cold here for a couple days and like it seems like we're heading back for a little warm up, which is nice.
Hmm. Yeah.
So let's hope that it just kind of like evens out here. So hello everybody in the chat. Thank you guys for hanging in there with us through the technical difficulties that we had. It just actually, I don't know, some sort of connection we must have, but
Must.
we're just yeah, it was just kind of wild, but we're just kind of going back over. So last week, I had the 10 issues here. We talked about digestive, we talked to UTIs, dental disease, diabetes was one. We got to
Did
diabetes.
not. We didn't really touch on diabetes much.
What, what do you think about diabetes? What do you find?
Well, from what I have learned, it's primarily due to inappropriate diet. It's and what happens is cats who eat a lot of carbohydrates, um, it it starts to develop this metabolic disease process. But if it gets to a certain degree where it's really bad, you damage the pancreas's ability to work the way it's supposed to work and to break down the food. And that can lead to or not leptin, but insulin resistance and things like that. So it can, and I know there's more than one reason why diabetes develops, but like one of the most basic fundamental ones is just diet. So we've got to keep our cats on a species appropriate, wet, fresh diet as much as possible to avoid those kinds of issues. I think sometimes food, like long term chronic food sensitivities, can also contribute to damage of the pancreas. And this is an endocrine system issue. So if your endocrine system is not working up to par and your pancreas isn't functioning right, then you are in for some problems. And insulin resistance is not a fun situation. And if you've ever had a cat have diabetes and you had to do insulin injections and things like that, my heart goes out to you because that is not to me something that I ever want to deal with, because number one, I hate I'm terrified of needles. So I don't think I could do that very well. So yeah, it and managing it is hard. It can be challenging, just because of blood sugar fluctuations and having to time those meals, and it's crazy. So I like to I like to do proactive things for prevention so that you don't even have to go there with the whole diabetes thing. So,
Well,
uh,
and you're talking about earlier on your site in like, wet foods and just the right food. And we're talking about food again, right?
yeah.
Um, it's funny because when you started talking about that and you started talking about food, it's a conversation I had with a new client this week, who bought one of our formulas, and she's got this little tiny little dog. We're talking about a dog right now, but she has this tiny little dog, probably about, I think she said it was like around 6 months old, and she bought one of our formulas, and I'm like, "Are you sure you need the formula?" Because when she described what was going on with the dog, she I was like going, and I And do you ever have this where you just you want to like reach out through the phone and like shake the person and say, listen to me for a second? Because that's where I was with this person. And I felt really bad because and we had a really nice conversation and she ended up buying the formula. And I told her, give me a call in a few days and let me know how it's going and if that's going to change it. But what she said to me, and I want to say this to everybody in the room, because this is really important, because like exactly what you talked about, diet. And that's why I want to say this, whether it's a dog or a cat, our pets need a really good diet. And so this lady was telling me, so she called up and she said, my little dog, I love my little dog. It was like 10 pounds or something, like just tiny little cute little dog, right? And she goes, I think and she had a southern accent, which I just adore, and I fell in love with her just from her accent, talking to her. And she was lovely. We had a great conversation, but I saw that I had to pull myself back because she wasn't really listening to me. And and I thought that she called me because she wanted to hear what my thoughts were and what I felt, because she asked, what about this formula? Would this help my dog appetite? Will it increase its appetite? And yes, it does. That's what the herbs do. It works from the gut level and it creates some enzyme. I don't know how it works, but it creates something inside the gut that also increases their appetite, which they want to eat. So, and it's healthy. It's good for older cats or older dogs that are going through these, that actually near transition in their life. In the last part of their life, they just stop eating. They slow down. That's one of the first signs that we see in a pet, that they're getting at that stage in life where they may transition. We don't know when, but it may be a year, maybe a year and a half, or whatever it might be. But we could just tell by their eating patterns, right? And so she was telling me that she got this cute little dog, and when she first got it, she spoiled the hell out of it, she said. And I'm like, well, what do you mean you spoiled the hell out of it? She goes, well, I was giving her little table scraps all the time, and that's how I started feeding her, right? And I go, well, what are you feeding her now? And she goes, kibble. And I was like going, it sounds like it's not that she's not hungry. It sounds like she's on a protest. You were giving her all this food and nutritional, off your own plate. Everything you were giving her was coming with a different nutrition. So she's getting all this nutritional value. And now she's eating this kibble. She's probably getting no nutritional value and feels bloated from it and probably just doesn't like the kibble. And she's like, oh, no, 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 that's not the case. She was, and I'm like, well, no, I mean, I'm sharing this from all my people that I have on my show. And I just like, I wanted to reach through the phone and shake her. And I backed off a little bit and I just kind of said, well, have you ever thought about home cooking? Because she seems like she really likes your cooking and your food. You might want to think about it, because you're going to give her the best quality of life. And she goes, no, I just want to feed her kibble and I'm just going to stick to kibble and she's just going to eat kibble. I'm getting your formula. And I'm like, well, give me a call in a couple of days and let me know if she's still, how she's doing. And I haven't heard from her, but it's just like, have you, because like you said, diet, you guys, we can't say it enough how much diet affects your pet's health from here to the future, to the last day of their life. Their diet makes the biggest difference in how their life is going to go and the issues you're going to have during their lifetime. And it's exactly like diabetes, that could be caused because of diet. If they're like getting all this sugar, like kibble's filled with sugar, as we've talked about, right?
Yeah.
So
What I've found is, as kudos to you for trying to wake her up, but people who are not self-conscious about their own diets, like they eat a lot of processed food, they just do, and therefore they don't care enough to take care of themselves with their diet. So those people are not necessarily the ones who are going to care what they feed their pets, if that makes sense.
well,
Not
and I was
always, but it's those, like the person that was being real resistant to the whole concept of kibble is not real food. It's not very nutritious. I mean, would you want to eat dry food 3 times a day all of your life for the rest of your life? And that's all you have? No, no, the body doesn't want that either. And it's not satisfying. So, yeah, maybe she'll have an epiphany and her dog will show her,
I
somehow. Let's pray that, she
I
gets
hope.
the message.
And I always use that McDonald's analogy. You know, can you imagine feeding your kid a Big Mac every meal of the day, every single day of their life? What nutrition are they going to get out of that? You know,
Yeah.
at one point, when's the body going to say, this is not working for me? And so I even did that analogy, but I was trying to be really self-conscious of, or being conscious about, like you said, her diet, because I don't know who she is and how she eats. Well, all I know is she's giving her pet table scraps. So I'm assuming she's cooking, you know, so that's maybe a sign, but who knows what she's cooking.
Right, right. I pulled up something else because I wanted to just check to see what other causes of feline diabetes, and they made some good points on here. So genetics can actually, like some cats are actually predisposed genetically to develop this problem. So you just I think you just have to manage all of those, all of the important factors. You know, diet being huge, and just keep monitoring if your cat is genetically predisposed, or once you figure out they might have this or they're kind of like borderline diabetic, that's when you really need to work with your vet. Obesity is another major risk factor for diabetes in cats. And I know that you've probably seen those cats on TikTok and Instagram that are just so obese that they can barely move. And my heart breaks for those animals and dogs too, because that is not healthy and it is not funny. I cannot imagine being so obese like that you can't have a normal life. That's not vitality, in my opinion. So we've got to just look at that body composition and that what do you call it? Like the size, their body
The
style,
weight scale,
the way the body scale,
the body scale. Yeah.
body
Uh-huh.
scale, the
The
score
doctor.
or whatever. You know,
Uh-huh.
look down at your pet and see, do they look like this, or do they look, thin, they're like lean?
Yeah.
We're not. I mean, we have eyes, we can see. We just need to pay attention. Um, and another reason is pancreatitis. And we were talking about, the insulin resistance. If your cat is chronically having pancreatitis issues, that can develop into diabetes because there's damage to those insulin producing cells, and that leads to diabetes. Um, Hormonal imbalances, like Cushing's is more for dogs, but hyperthyroidism in cats can disrupt hormone levels, and that can lead to a risk of diabetes. Medications are another common issue with cats developing diabetes, and like steroids. Um, so we need to be careful, like how many steroids and the type of medications that we're giving our cats, and have you looked at the drug insert form that comes with that medication that you're giving them on a regular basis, and is diabetes one of those concerns or those side effects? Because you need to know that in advance so that you know what to look for. Age, obviously, cats who are older may be more common. This particular site says, cats over 7, but I don't know. I have cats over 7 and they're not couch potato cats. You know what I'm saying? So I think if we can keep them active and playing, that also removes that predisposition of, the physical inactivity and sedentary lifestyle that can increase that potential for obesity and developing diabetes as a result. Um, we talked about the diet part, and then there are some actual breeds of cats who maybe genetically be more predispositioned. Um, but here's something I think that's really important, and Dr. Karen Becker says this a lot. Some pets may have genetic factors that predispose them to developing certain things,
Yep.
but it doesn't mean that they will. So we have to consider epigenetics, and that is the influence from their environment, and that includes lifestyle and diet.
Yeah.
So if we can control those external factors that contribute to the epigenetics, maybe they won't ever develop that disease because you're doing things in a proactive, preventative way. So, and I've also heard, it's not necessarily on this list, but I know that in some cases, like vaccines can actually do damage to the things like the hormone and create the hormone imbalances and um, cause problems. So vaccine over vaccination may even in some on some degree contribute to the development of the whole diabetes problem. So there's a lot of factors. But you know what, again, I think we just have to be proactive and think about how to be smart about those things, you know.
Yeah.
Um, your your cat doesn't have to develop those things. It's lifestyle and environment that can contribute to a lot of that.
Well, and like you said, are they predispositioned for it? You know what I mean? Is it
Mhm.
in their makeup? Is it in their DNA? And I actually on my channel, I have one dog and cat DNA, and this lady was she started off working with children and autism and doing the DNA structure and doing all the research and all that. And at the end of her career working with that, she's like, you know what? No one's doing DNA for pets, and I want to do DNA for pets. So she's got this, I forget what the name of the company, but it's listed on my YouTube, and it's called Dog Cat DNA. And one of the things that she said was exactly that. Is it already in their DNA? And she says, and if you know that it's in their DNA, or if it's a breed that it is, and it's been
More
detailed.
prone to
Yeah.
developing that. Yep. Hmm.
Exactly. And if they're prone to it, then it's something that you can actually keep your eyes open for along their lifetime. And once in a while, maybe get them tested more often than you might, because by just even getting them tested, you know that you're on the right track and you can maybe curve their treatment rather than finding out at the last minute.
Yeah, yeah. And once you know what to look for, or even ahead of time, know how can you step in and prevent that through diet and lifestyle? Because
Exactly.
again, just because they might have a predisposition to develop that doesn't mean that they
You're
will.
gonna,
And that's called epigenetics. So, and it works the same in humans, you know? So,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly.
you have
Yeah.
to be proactive and figure out how to best support them so that they don't develop those things.
Yeah. Well, I love that you actually pulled out all that up, and that's what we were here to do, is dive in.
Mhm.
There's a question here, and I don't want to pass it up and have it like
Yeah.
get buried. So, what do you think about this?
Yes, I agree completely. Um, if you think about number one, now maybe,
Wait. First, explain what it is.
okay, the cystitis, idiopathic cystitis.
Yeah.
Okay, cystitis is when there's inflammation in the bladder.
Right.
Sometimes there are secondary infections, sometimes there's not. It's just inflammation in the bladder. It can be like there can be biofilm in there that it just kind of throws the whole pH of the bladder out of balance. And then you have problems. You know, they have trouble peeing, they can develop crystals, they can, stones, whatever, just because of that pH is off. Um, Cats are the canary in the coal mine, and they are very, very, very sensitive little energy sponges. So if we have a death in the family and our whole household is sad and upset and everyone is grieving, um, maybe it was sudden, maybe it was unexpected, and there's a lot of shock and there's a lot of, just pain and grieving going on. Well, we're putting that energy into the environment, and our pets will pick that up, and our cats will pick that up just because it's in the energy field. We are commingling our energy fields. It's called quantum entanglement. Um, so those kinds of conditions affect them. And one of the first places that cats can react or show up that something is wrong is when they have bladder issues. So it's a real thing. If they lose their owner, like maybe somebody died and this cat is just left like, oh my gosh, what happened to my mom? She's not here anymore. So it can be their own grief and their own worry and their own fear because now their life is uprooted. You know, maybe they were taken out of their home. They don't understand what happened and why am I not with my human? Where's my family? And I'm in this strange place. And so all of that kind of emotional stress can turn into idiopathic cystitis. And they call it idiopathic because they don't know what causes it. But there's always a cause. They just don't know how to look for it, in my opinion, because they're looking for physical reasons all the time and they're not looking at the emotional and the spiritual side of things. So I don't think anything is idiopathic. I think we're just looking through the wrong lens. Um, so she says he's peeing on his owner's bed during the night. Okay, I need more information. Someone passed away and now he's peeing on the owner's bed during the night. But let's see, it was the owner's father who did not live with the owner, but close by, and the owner was extremely stressed. Okay, so what happens, what may, I'm just thinking out loud based on the information that I have. The person in the home whose bed he's peeing on is very, very upset and very stressed, and their energy is in that space. And we talked about this, I don't remember how many shows ago, the Pigpen character in Peanuts, who's walking around with the dust cloud behind him. And I compare that to this shadow energy field that we carry when we are very upset or we're angry or we're fearful about something. We carry that same kind of shadow energy around us that pets like cats can see, they can feel it, and it can be very frightening to them because it can feel like a black cloud. It can be very, very negative energy. And when cats pee on something like your bed, then they are trying to put their scent on something to help them feel more secure because they do not feel safe. They do not feel secure in that environment. So let me just mark this, let me mark that. And if I can walk through and smell my scent everywhere, then I'm going to feel more at ease. And so that's what happens in cases like that.
Yeah, yeah. You see that all the time where like we see it all the time when we walk into a house and we feel someone's energy and
Yeah.
it affects us. I mean, how many times have you walked in someone's house and just in general, you could just tell where the whole environment is with, maybe the partners or whatever. And when
Yeah.
they're like, when it's chaos, you walk into it. I mean, you can feel it. So your cat can feel that too. I want to jump backwards a little bit. Abuse and Scientology. She's like, oh yeah. We talk about this a lot where, people are so conditioned to believe that everything that's being advertised, and Ryan of, someone that I've had on my show that is
Mhm.
a nutritionist, he calls that puffery. He says, there's so much puffery on the labels because it's all advertisement, you know.
Mhm.
And then and I want to show this one here. And when we talk about cooking for your pet, we're not saying really take off what you're eating and just hand them your table scraps necessarily, because there's a lot of things there that it could be way too seasoned. It could have things in there so you really have to do your homework when you're going to be cooking for your pet.
Yeah, and you don't want to use onion, but I will tell you, you can use garlic. They're not. You can't overdo garlic. It with. Let me back up. The study that came out with dogs that said that whose headlines and testing results said garlic is toxic to your dogs and cats, don't feed it to them. They were feeding these beagles like 70 cloves or heads of garlic. It was cloves or heads. It was absolutely ridiculous. Well, yes, the dogs got sick on eating that many cloves of garlic. They did not die, but garlic in itself has so many benefits and good properties for healing, even for people. So using a little bit of garlic in certain recipes is totally safe because again, you're not putting 70 cloves of garlic in something. You might be putting an eighth of a teaspoon in something, and that's totally different. It can have some actually medicinal qualities when it's used in the right way. So very interesting. Yes.
Yeah,
Um,
go on.
yeah. No, that's fine. But yeah, follow some recipes. And we pulled the book out a couple weeks ago with the Forever Dog Life book that has recipes that are balanced for all active levels of your dogs. And some of those recipes you could actually look at for cats. Um, Not many of them, but some. And the treats you could even look at for cats. But yeah, just follow a recipe is that you know is balanced if you're going to home cook for your cat.
Yeah, and I want to jump back to the garlic thing in a bit, but I want to carry forward Kit Kat's
Yeah. Okay.
stream.
So I pulled up my own selenite. This is a selenite wand, which is great for clearing like negative energy and things like that. And here's my best advice: the person who is, I think she said it was the owner's, it was
The
the owner.
owner's dad that passed away.
Yes. So whoever's husband is who whoever owns the bed that the cat is peeing on, whoever that person is that's grieving obviously from the loss. Sorry, I have cat fur in my mouth. I can't imagine why I have
I
cat
wonder why, right?
fur. um, that's the person that needs to deal with their energy. And yes, you can help the cat, but if the person who is contributing to the all the negative energy doesn't fix them too, then you're in this constant cycle until that person is able to heal emotionally. So addressing his own grief in a positive way with a positive, you know, find a positive outlet for some of that, whether it's journaling, whether it's um, whatever it is that helps that person to heal and shift that energy. Absolutely. Um, in
I have
this,
a question. I have a question about that really quick about the energy and all that, and about the parent that's in bed that's the cat's
that's
peeing
getting
in the
their cat peeing on the bed. Yeah.
bed. My question is, and this is for you, Kit Kat, as well, is this happening when the owner's not in the bed, or is this happening while the owner is in the bed? And if it's happening when the owner is in the bed, is the cat being there as a comforting and didn't want to leave the owner to go use the cat box and just is doing it in the bed just to be there with the owner? What do you think about that, Pam?
It's possible, but it's probably not
Okay.
likely.
Yeah,
But
because she said,
what Kit Kat says, yeah, you can clear the space. So if you can smudge some sage, maybe spray some Palo Santo or something, in your space that kind of cleanses that energy in the environment in that bedroom, that would be great. Um, Crystals can help shift the cat. So, in like a red crystal for the root chakra, to help them feel safe. You can actually, let me see if I don't have a stone, but I have actually done this for Aylin before using a rose quartz crystal when she was just really grieving and her heart was blocked to the kittens. So I literally just took a rose quartz crystal and brushed her, hi baby, with it. And actually I started like above her skin, like I didn't even touch her, and I could see her skin rippling as that crystal would just
yeah,
brush, didn't even have to touch her. And I was like, whoa, because they feel the energy. Look at her. So
I
yeah,
mean, and
her
everybody in the chat, I mean, seriously, take a look at Pam and her, Aileen. It's like, look at the energy that they have there. You feel it. I
yeah,
feel it from here. You just see
she
that
does.
positive energy. I have to put this up here because I think it's, well, first, let's say, so Kit Kat saying the cat's being treated with antibiotics, and I hate to hear what kind of antibiotics that they might be using. What do you think?
Well, I wouldn't use an antibiotic unless I knew there was a secondary infection. A lot of times they don't know how to address cystitis, because again, it's idiopathic. So look at emotional ways that you can support the cat, number one, and help them feel more grounded and safe. If that's flower essences, if that's maybe CBD, if that's brushing with crystals, if that's doing some energy work to clear emotional blocks for them. Um, Herb gardens and essential
Well,
oils can be
yeah, and
wonderful
I was just, and
in the body.
this is what we would go to. I mean,
Yeah,
with
there's
that.
just there's so many tools out there to help the cat feel safe.
Yeah, because this is all natural. This is not
Yeah,
pharmaceutical, and this will just help them calm down and just
yeah.
de-stress and all that. So, if they're out there and they're going to be doing something, they should start at least a holistic path before they do to a chemical path.
There's also Animal Essentials has a really good supplement called UT Cyst at CYST. It's for cystitis that you use for short term, like 2 weeks max, and it helps rebalance that pH in the bladder for cats with cystitis. So that's another good option.
Yeah,
That's
and that that
targeted
that,
to the
that
bladder.
would be that would be this one here, PP issues.
Oh,
That would
okay. Yeah.
so
So
you know
yeah, there's just unless you know that there's an infection, I mean, you could have them culture the urine first and then decide based on the outcome of that test, is there bacteria, overgrowth there or is there not? Because if you're giving antibiotics just for the sake of antibiotics, which how often does that happen in a vet's office? Quite frequently, right?
yeah.
Um, they just throw antibiotics in everything because they don't have any other tools. It doesn't mean that there's an infection necessarily. Um, so it just destroys more of the healthy gut flora when we just keep throwing antibiotics at stuff. So um,
I
yeah,
want to show I want to show this comment here because I was just laughing to myself that abuse in Scientology, but maybe that's why my cat's urinating all over my ex-husband's house. I love that. You
it's
never
probably
the
that
energy,
energy.
it's energy. It's, and
Yeah,
that's probably why he's your ex-husband.
yeah, yeah. I would agree with that in a heartbeat. Um, Okay, so here's more information. The cat belongs to a former landlord, so I'm not positive, but I believe the cat is peeing in the bed when the owner was sleeping. Yeah, we just need more information. But again, I think it goes back to I don't feel safe, and so I'm going to put my scent here. There's something in the environment. Maybe there's another pet. We don't know. Like, we don't have the whole story. There could be another pet, like another cat or a dog, and they're, like you said, maybe they're doing litter box avoidance because they're traumatized when they go try to use a litter box and they're getting chased out of that area, or another cat or a pet is stalking them as they're coming in and out. So if they're sleeping with the owner at night and they're refusing to go to the litter box, maybe there's a reason that they're refusing to go to the litter box. So we have to look at all the potential reasons why to get a big, let's look at the big picture, not zero in on one little symptom like we've
Right.
talked about before. Step back and take a picture of the whole landscape and evaluate everything in that light. Like, could we want to figure out why this cat is doing this? And just keep an open mind to observe, go back to when it started, what's going on, who else is in the house, when is it happening, how often does it happen, is there a trigger? So we have to just look at it. Put your detective hat on and pretend you're solving a mystery and look at it from that lens.
Well, it's funny that you're talking about what else is in the house, and my mind just like drifted away to to another thing. Is like, what else could be in the house? And I'm like, going, wow, wait a second. I lost my mom like 22 years ago to lung cancer, and in the last days in hospice. And this is a really beautiful story, and I'd love to share this story. So I'm going to go ahead and share it with everyone today. Is that I really worked really close with the hospice lady that was there, and we just she talked about how families react at this time in life, and how people like some people are like, don't go, and they stress the person out, and just they're in the middle of transitioning, and there's this family member going, don't go, we want you, and it's really they're being selfish to themselves, instead of letting the person live and just transition the way they want to. But one of the things that was really beautiful in my mom's transition, while I was with when this all happened with me and my family, was that it came to the point where the hospice lady said to me, Michael, this is the weekend that you want to bring in friends and family to just say hello and say goodbye, and just whatever they want to say. Just this is the weekend. So my dad and my uncle got on the phone. They made so many phone calls, and my sister and I took turns beside my mom's bed, and there was they'd come in two by two, and they'd sit there and they'd talk with my mom was very coherent. It was like she never lost that ability. It wasn't like she went off in la la land and you
Yeah.
couldn't communicate. She was there. She was present all the time up to the end of her death. And so one of the two of the people came in, and I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden my mom looks at me and she grabs me on my leg and she's like, Michael. And I go, what, Mom? She goes, my mom's here. And
Mhm.
she's pointing to the corner of the room.
Mhm.
And my mom and I were we're very open, and we enjoy, we've always, energy is a big part of our lives. And I sat there and I'm like going, wow. And it just like, it took me for a second. I was like, oh my God. And of course the two people standing there, one of the person's like, oh my God, it's the morphine, it's the drugs, blah, 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 blah. And I just shut it down really quick because I didn't want to go there with that conversation. And so then, later on in the evening after everybody had left, I went back to my mom and I said, hey, Mom. She goes, yeah. And I made up a story because it was my sister's night. And I said, I left my phone there or something like that. And I said, earlier you said that your mom and dad, or earlier you said your mom was here. And she goes, yes. And she pointed to the exact same space in the room in the corner of the up at the ceiling height. It was interesting. She pointed up, right?
Mhm.
And I said, is she here for you? And she goes, yes. I said,
Mhm.
well, give her a hug and a kiss and tell her I miss her, and I'll see you guys on the other side when I get there, She goes,
Mhm.
okay, and so I was like, I'll be right back. So I go to the garage and I tell my dad, my mom passed away from smoking, lung cancer,
Mhm.
and so I went to tell my dad, and all of a sudden I said, Mom just said that her mom's here. And he's like, what? Huh? And he's like, he throws down his cigarette. He goes, well, just the other day, she said that my aunt, my uncle were coming. And I was like, what the hell is she talking about? Right. Cause he, closed-minded guy, you know,
Yeah.
and he's like, oh, I got it. So he goes running into the bedroom and he goes by her and he starts shaking her. And he goes, have you seen my dad yet? Have you seen my dad yet? And she looks at him and she goes, don't be such a fucking asshole. If I
Ah,
see him, I'll let you know. And it was just like, it was so funny because she was like so spot on and,
yeah.
what was going on. So going back to this experience, did the cat sense the being of the father?
Maybe so. I never rule out anything. In fact, in the work that I do, I work with a lot of charts and energy testing and things like that. And spirits, entities come up more times than you would believe. And it can be a human entity spirit, it can be a pet in spirit. Like I think I've mentioned before, I have my own cats in spirit that visit on a regular
Right.
basis, and I can see them if I video, and I can replay it and I can see the orbs on the video. I can't see it just with my own eyes. I don't understand that yet, but it's fascinating to see that. And yes, it can when people are like on that edge of transitioning, I have heard so many times that their family members on the other side, their guides, their
They
angels,
were coming. Yep.
they're all there waiting for her to help her transition when her
Yep.
spirit passes. And it is a beautiful thing. And for people who are not really into the woo woo, it can be very frightening for them. And I just don't, I yeah, and it's no judgment on anybody. It's because we have become, as society, so reliant on what's tangible in front of us and what we can see and what we can touch and what we can hear and taste. We have so many abilities that we can't see, like our intuition, our ability to reason, our imagination, our perception. We have all of these faculties that we don't use, we don't really tap into. And if we did, and open ourselves up to, there's another world beyond our vision, but beyond our sight. It is a spiritual realm all around us. We are in it. We are just on a different plane, a different wavelength. That's all it is. The
We,
veil is thin, we just can't see it with our own eyes because we're not at that vibration that they're at. They're at a higher vibration. We're
we,
just more dense in this 3D body that we have. We are dense and they are not. And that's why we can't see them.
Well, I've got to share something now that you said this.
Yeah.
Okay. I was a kid that was, when I was, when they had me, there I was running around. They couldn't hold me down. I was bouncing off the walls. I had, the doctor's ADHD, boom, classic. They put me on Ritalin at some point in my life, and that just like didn't work really well with me because it flatlined me and my personality and all that. And so it's been like something that I've dealt with my whole life. And one of the things that I always talk about with people a lot of times is like we have a physical body and we have a spiritual body. And those two need to be in alignment. And when those are in alignment, and this is the way how I look at it, and when those two are in alignment, your life will start to do this. But what the magic is, what you just mentioned, is for me, it's when you're at a high vibration. When you're at a high vibration and you're in alignment, the magic that comes into my life has just been incredible. But one of the things I just learned just recently after, I was attacked last year by an LAPD officer and it hurt me. And I ended up getting PTSD. And I always knew what it was, but I didn't know what it was, because it never affected me. And I so I got wellness help. I have a wellness team, and we really started digging into it. And one of the ladies, a psychiatrist that I've been working with, she goes, Michael, she goes, I really enjoy visiting with you. I really have a nice time visiting with you. You're unlike a lot of my clients, because a lot of people come in here with problems and we never can get through the problems because they're so focused on the problem. They keep attracting the problem. Right. And I've always learned, like, if there's a situation in my life, I look at it, what's going on, and I ask myself, what do I want instead? And I pivot, I look at what I want instead, and I start to focus on that, because then that's what will come through the universal energy. Right.
Yes, exactly.
And she just, and we really discovered this because I was watching, this is so off topic, but it's such a great topic, I think, about alignment and all that, is that so this is my whole life has been like, in alignment. I find myself in such fascinating, wonderful, magical things. I've done such incredible events. I designed this one piece of art, and when I brought it to the company that built it for me, they looked at me and they asked me, what engineering school did you go to? And I'm like, I didn't. They go, no, you had to have. I'm like, no,
No, that's just my brain.
it's just the way my brain works. And so what it is, and she goes, and then a friend told me recently about this movie that a comedian did, where she met her husband. She found out her husband was autistic. And I watched the movie and I was like, oh my God, he's like me a lot. Right. And so I asked her, I said, what do you think? I said, I think I'm kind of like, maybe like one of those people that are kind of like on the edge of being autistic. And she goes, no, Michael. She goes, yeah. She goes, it's part of who you are. She goes, I've noticed it since you walked in. She goes, you're what we call neurodivergent. And I'm like, what's that? And I'd never heard it at that point. And this is just recent that I found this out. And so I started studying it, and everything I'm reading and everything I'm listening to right now, I'm like going, oh my God, this is me. This is my life. And it's like, it has allowed me to be in this alignment. I'm not in a box. I'm not in a box that everybody else is in. There's some things that I look at and I don't understand how to react to it, because it's not in my head how society works.
Yeah.
There's things that my life has been magical in so many spaces, but there's these other technical spaces that I'm just like, I don't know how to do that. I can't do that. It's like, in school I didn't do that well, but in math I actually did really well, which was surprising. But it's like, so it's all those kind of things. But we're talking about alignment and high vibration. And that's where I really talk about with people. It's like, if something's going on in your life, you really want to see what's going on in your life, and allow yourself that pivoting. But that vibration, you touched it and you triggered it to share this. So I just wanted to share this because it's something new in my life, and I'm uncovering it right now. And it's really fascinating to me, because it's something like, they said like 5% of the population has ADHD, and then like another 2% has this combined with ADHD, which makes them a neurodivergent. And it's this, and she's done all these different quizzes with me and all these different questions, and she's done tests with me now. And she's like, Michael, and so it's given me a clarity that I never had before on my life. And it's
now
just,
you have a better understanding of how your mind works.
well, yeah. Cause like sometimes I'll get on my lives you'll see me and I'll pause and I'll sit there and I'll think for a second, and my mind's just doing this, and I have to slow down my mind and I have to come back and go, okay, this is what I just found, and I bring it to the thing. And some people are like going, where did he go? He just went somewhere. And it's like it's my mind's, it's part of, like, we have beta and theta in our brain, and most people are born where they move those two chemicals, those two parts of the brains move at the same speed. Where in someone like myself, my beta and theta, they interact like this back and forth. So there's times where one's ahead of the other and or behind the other, and it allows me to, like, think way far ahead before I even get to where I'm going. And sometimes I could be in a conversation, I can end up finishing the conversation because I know where it's already going, because it's my brain just does it, and I don't know how I know it. It's kind of like that the intuition that my mom had it too, because, like, my mom and I, we have this intuition with people, and I could just, like, feel people and read people, and I just, like, go, wow, this is crazy. And people are like, why, how can you feel this? And I'm like, I'm just connected in a different way in this universe. But with that say, I want to, I want to move back to cats really quick, because I see Floppy Cats in here, and she reached out to me this week, and we've been talking, and I know she's a friend of yours. In fact, that's how we actually met, was through Floppy Cats.
Yes.
And we had this really, she's combating an issue which many people do all the time, and we were talking about fleas.
Yeah. I want to hear your answer to this, and then I'm going to share mine.
Well, I did exactly what you did, and I posted it on my YouTube. I brought it up, and let me see, I'll bring it right here. I'm going to pull it up on a post that I just posted it. And
I'm going to give her the woo-woo answer. I want to hear.
Yeah, go ahead.
She knows me so well. I think you'll appreciate this. Okay, this is what I suggest you do. If they keep coming back in your realm, and now you're asking that question, have you ever looked up this, like, the symbolism or spiritual meaning of fleas? Do a search online and say, symbolism of flea, because I have taught classes on animals and spirit guides and things like that. I'm very attuned to things in nature that come across my path that are out of the ordinary, or they keep showing up over and over and over again until I get the message. So when things like this, like you're coming into your sphere again, there might be a message from the fleas,
the flea gods,
the fleas, just the flea energy, the fleas as sentient beings. Every animal, insect, whatever, has symbolic meaning behind them, and they can share that wisdom and how it applies to life. So I would look up the symbolic meaning of fleas. She says, okay, symbolic meanings, rebirth, persistence, resilience. Yes, can you see how they are persistent and keep coming back over and over again?
Yeah.
Maybe they're trying to teach you how to be really resilient. I mean, you have to sit with all of this information, and just sometimes it takes a while for that revelation to come. If it doesn't hit you right away on some kind of a soul level, and it's not necessarily that all of it is going to make sense or resonate, but there might be one or two little things that stand out that you go, oh, and it may take 2 days, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, it'll hit you, and you're like, oh, that's what that meant. You know what I'm saying? So I would just say, look at several different sites on symbolism of fleas or the spiritual meaning of fleas, and just see collectively, read through several of them, and just journal some things down, like something that stands out about that, and then put it in, a notebook or something, and just think about it. Because there's always a message. It's still, especially if they keep coming back into your energy field, and she's under the woo-woo side. So yeah, I just think that's an angle that we haven't looked at, obviously.
Well, and I love that, because, like, when you're saying, like, the symbolism, I'm like, well, maybe if you made a charm and put it around your neck, you'll kind of, like, have it like a god around your neck and it'll scare the fleas away, you know. The one thing I want to say about what I did is I went on the internet and I started really uncovering a bunch of stuff, and I posted this. It's a post on my thing. Is people have to understand that flea, this is going more towards the technical side, you guys, and it's about the, fleas have a cycle of life, and they have an egg that's a larva, the pupa, and then pupa, is it pupa?
Pupa,
Yeah,
pupa.
and then the adult. But the eggs are what gets you, is because the eggs could sit dormant for a long, long, long time. And so you could clean and clean and clean and clean and think you're okay, we're out of season, so we're good now, and stop, not hit all those areas that you were deep, deep cleaning. But those eggs are still there, and it's just going to take a warm, moist, rainy day, a humid day, that's going to activate that larva. And then all of a sudden you're going to have fleas again. So it was interesting that I actually dove into it and just really, I didn't even realize that. And they say the fight's never over. It's a year long, it's year round. You have to be conscious of it year round, because they're laying dormant in your house, where no matter how well you clean those. They said that they can have something like, they lay 100,000 eggs at a time or something like that. It was some ridiculous number like that. So yeah, so I'm like seeing if I saw that where
Yeah,
that was.
the key is managing the environment, as you're talking about, and you might have to manage it for a while. And it's harder to manage the outdoor environment, but there are lots of different products out there. You just have to figure out which one is going to work for your situation. And I'm not talking to just floppy cats. I'm talking just in general. You have to figure out what works, what is feasible, what is reasonable, what are you willing to do? You know what I mean? Externally in your yard and things like that, and as well as in your home, on your cat. So you have to use a multi-prong approach if you have an ongoing problem. Yeah.
Yeah, and floppy cats, do me a favor, in the comments, put your website in there where people can go and see the video that you made, because she made this really great video on all the different products that she's been using, and the work that she's put into it is just
Mhm.
amazing. So if you want to go ahead and put that in the chat so that I could just post that, so anybody else that's dealing with the same thing can have other options, and having to go to the flea collar or having to go to the chemicals, because her cat has, is in his golden years, and it's like he's got some health issues, so she doesn't want to add all those chemicals to his body. And I totally get it. And she goes, like, here, right here, what did she say here? I had a vet tell me this week that fleas would survive an attack. It's true.
Right along with roaches.
Right, with roaches, fleas and roaches, I mean, they almost look alike, they're kind of.
Or just tiny versions of gross roaches. Yes.
Oh my
Ah.
God, you're gonna die. You said roaches. I always like to digress a little bit and go different directions. Um, my husband, he's like a little kid sometimes. We have, when you buy cereal, if you don't use it in time, it starts to go stale and all that. So I ended up going out and I bought like 32 of these Tupperware containers that the lid snaps tight and all this, so that we could put our cereals in there and all that, and so they wouldn't go stale, the crackers and all that. And it's amazing how well they do when they're closed, right? But the little guy, my little monster, he leaves the top off all the time, and I'm like, oh my God, and I'm like ready to strangle him, right? So I went out on Amazon and I found plastic roaches.
Oh no, you did not.
I did, and I put a roach in his cereal, because he left
No.
he left it open at night, so I just dropped one in there. And so one night he was having cereal, and all of a sudden I was waiting for him to do anything, and he didn't say a word. He didn't scream or anything. And then the next, I'm like, I hope he didn't swallow it, and I'm thinking, I'm like, oh no, what if he swallowed it, right? And then the next night he had, because that's like his little go-to food, and he then all of a sudden had another bowl of cereal, and all of a sudden I heard him in the background. Ah! And he saw it, and he was like, the bowl was there, and he's like, ah. And so and really they look real, you know what I mean? They just don't move. And so I don't know. I don't know if it really hasn't changed him, because he's still leaving the damn caps off.
Oh my gosh, no, I hate roaches. Oh, I hate roaches.
Oh, I'm a prankster, and I think that's part of my personality. And he's like, why do you do this all the time? I'm like, I just love pranking, so yeah. That is
Oh my
funny. Okay, so where are we? So, atomic bomb. Yeah, but seriously, floppy cats, if you want to share your video where the people can see your video of all the different things you're doing for your cat, I would love to put it
Mhm.
up on, in the chat so people can see it. So,
Oh, and
uh,
one other thing, floppy cats, the stuff you just put on your yard is excellent. It's some eco something. I can't remember what it is,
well,
but
that's what I'm saying. It's like I was amazed at all the different things that she was doing because there's a lot of those things
it's
I
probably
haven't heard, you know?
but it's hard when you have raccoons come through your yard. We can't
Yeah.
keep out the wildlife and eco smart granules. Yes, that stuff is excellent. Um, we can't control the wildlife necessarily that comes into our yard. So, there is always that. You just do the best you can, right?
Yeah,
Or you
it's
could do it. You could have your animal communicator, Holly, talk to the fleas because that you can call them forward and their flea energy and they're a representative of fleas can come into a conversation and you can have a conversation with them and explain to them how they really have to leave your yard because of Charlie. Um, it's a real thing. So
we want Charlie to be good. Yeah.
utilize all the tools you have at your disposal.
Exactly. She's got so many tools in her toolbox. I just love it. And everybody, she has a Instagram account called Floppy Cats as well. So
Mhm.
reach out to the Instagram, follow it because it's really a great Instagram and information. You're gonna meet Charlie on there. You'll love Charlie. He's
Yeah,
a sweetheart.
he's adorable. He's
Yes.
absolutely adorable. He's got the
Yeah.
best mama in the whole world.
Well, and that's what I always love is like when people really, they embrace the love and care that they want to give to their pet. Your pet is a family member, so
Mhm.
give them the same thing you give yourself. Like we were talking about earlier with, what's the parent's diet versus their diet, that they're giving the pet. So like really, if you're giving your pet a better diet than you're giving yourself, we're saying stop and give yourself that better diet as well.
Yeah,
We want everybody to be happy and healthy, a holistic way.
absolutely. And again, the person who you spoke to probably was not educated on pet food nutrition. So they don't know what they don't know and they're resistant based on ignorance. And that's not to put them down. It's just a fact.
They just don't know. They
They
just
just
don't
don't
know.
know. They don't know. So
And and I was trying to be as I was, internally I was getting like so upset because she wasn't hearing me, but I was just like, okay, Michael, this is not your battle here. You can only share the information they can take and they can take it and do what they want with it. So
well,
I'm
that's why we just plant seeds, right? We're just
yep.
one of these days she'll remember that conversation.
Well, I hope that she calls me back. And, on one hand, I'm, kind of hoping that the dog is, protesting and doesn't start eating because of our formula, you
Yeah,
know, because I
yeah.
was really, I don't, unless our formulas actually work for you, I don't want you to get them, and we have a money back guarantee because like some people will get our allergy formula and then we don't, it's our allergy funds is for, external allergies. It's seasonal allergies. It's, things that they come in contact with. It's not their diet. If it's their diet, you have to change their diet. Our allergy formula is not going to change that diet for you.
Right.
And no matter how much you give them of the formula, it may, help with the itching and scratching, but it's not going to stop the allergies because if they're allergic to chicken, they're allergic to chicken or whatever it is. So you've got to do your homework, guys. You've got to do your homeworks. Um, Oh, here, floppy cats. Let's talk about your feelings. Why does longevity make Charlie sleep for hours? Any ideas? I gave it to him today, and he was dead asleep again. You know what? It boosts their immune system. So maybe his system's not having to work so hard, and he's having maybe like a chance to breathe for a second and just go, "Wow, I don't have to be." I don't know. That's something we do offer, a 15-minute consultation on our website. So floppy cats, go there and schedule a 15-minute consultation and ask Dr. Kyle that question. That's the only thing that I can think, but it's like it's definitely a good sleep, huh? Go ahead, Pam.
I also did a clearing on him.
Oh, you did? Okay.
That always, if the cats are sleeping, it's like they're healing. So that may be part it too.
Right. So,
And then he was sleeping on the yellow color, Jenny, and his solar plexus chakra needed support, and that's why. You'll see that tomorrow.
you see,
It makes all sense to me.
it makes all sense. Yeah. I mean, he's healing. So that, yeah, the immune system's boosting up and all, like exactly the healing,
Mhm,
the energy healing and all that. It all makes a difference. And,
mhm,
some people like, they sit there and like on energy healing. What's that about? Oh my God, blah, blah. No, you know what?
mm,
Energy is everything. We're made of energy.
mhm,
We're nothing but a big ball of energy. So, um, yeah.
yeah,
So,
mm.
well, I never thought this conversation would go this is I love this. This is what this is about. We get
I
to talk
know,
about
it's fun, isn't it?
yeah.
She said actually he was sleeping for hours before the clearing. Okay.
Well, so funny because she sent me an email and she said that she was walking and all of a sudden she saw him on the ground and she's like she had to see if he was breathing for a second and even like the way she wrote her email, she had me in suspense and I was like going, oh no, Charlie, and then oh he breathed. Thank you for dropping that one. Thank you very much, Floppy Cat. You had me there, okay. But yeah, he's healing. So, this is all part of, his system, like, the
Reba
longevity.
It
Yeah.
requires a lot of energy to heal. And Chinese herbs are very powerful. I don't
Yep.
think people really understand how potent Chinese herbs. It is medicinal.
Yep.
It is not like peppermint that we grow in our garden. We are talking medicinal level herbs. So it can have a huge impact on the body and helping the body rebalance and heal itself. And energy takes a lot of energy to heal. That's the truth.
It does. It does. I mean, I'm dealing with my hip right now. And it's just like the amount of energy that I have to put into just like let it just be pain or it's not pain free, unfortunately, right now, but it's like just to be able to like to have the rest of my body be in a neutral space with it, and to be able to sit there and give more energy to the hip rather than the rest of my body. It takes a lot of energy out of me. And, I'm exhausted, it's like, I find myself like, unfortunately right now, I can only like, since I've been attacked, it was like, they're trying to figure out what's wrong and they may think they're thinking that they're going to have to go back in and I had a hip replacement because of a sports injury when I was younger.
Ouch.
And so they're thinking that they may have to go back in because it may be loose.
Mm, yeah.
And so, and that's when we do need doctors. If there's mechanical things going wrong that, herbs
Yeah.
or anything else can't fix it, we need our professional people out there. We can't do this by ourselves. And
Yeah.
there's, you
Herbs
know,
aren't going to fix that.
herbs, believe me, I've tried. And I do take our, no, I do take our ouchie formula for the pain and it cuts it a little bit, better than taking the narcotics that they want me to
Yeah.
take. I hate
Oh,
those.
100%. Yep.
But yeah, I just wanted to jump back to longevity real quick. Our longevity formula, the results that I've heard across America have just been incredible. And like what Pam's saying, medicinal, this is not like, oh, let's have, mint in our tea. This is not those kind of herbs. This is like, these are ancient Chinese holistic recipes that have been around for hundreds and thousands of years that
Mhm.
they've been using that have been fine tuned to this point where they are today. And
Mhm.
that's why they work so well. And we had a friend, who came to us. I had a cat hair flying by and I'm like, where did that cat hair came by? It's coming through. You're right. Exactly. The energy. Right. And so Alan came to us and said, hey, I just got back from the vet. Vet told me Maggie's got cancer everywhere. And they gave her 6 to 8 weeks to live. And he wouldn't, I asked him if we could do chemo and radiation and all that. And he said, absolutely not. Take her home, get her comfortable, let her just be happy and at home. And he says, and then he told him the vet about us. And he says, well, I would reach out to them. We can't talk about it because we're vets and we didn't go to school and get trained on Eastern medicine, but reach out to him. And he did. He reached out to us and we put him in contact with Dr. Kyle. And It was amazing. When I first went up and saw him the first time with Maggie after he got the news, I could just see and we talk about energy again. Okay, let's go there.
Mhm.
That both of their energy was just zapped, and you saw it. And
Yeah.
they were both pulling on each other. They were drained. They were both pulling on each other's energy, and it was just really sad to see because Maggie was always this happy-go-lucky dog, and she was in her way golden years. So, she was a lab, and so she was up there, and so Dr. Kyle said we want to get her on Forever Young, and let's give her some no more drama. Just if she has anxiety right now during this phase that she's going through, let's get her that as well. But let's get her on Forever Young. Got her on Forever Young, and once again, we don't say that it cures anything. It doesn't cure cancer. It doesn't cure anything. All it does is the herbs boost the immune system, so the immune system can fight whatever's coming towards the pet.
Mhm.
And so he got Maggie on it and he gave it to her twice a day. And then Kyle said, let's give it to her 3 times a day right now. Let's get her going. Let's get her ramped up and let's get her going. Remember, the vet said 6 to 8 weeks. 6 months goes by. Maggie's still around. He goes on vacation. He leaves Maggie with his mom and dad, gives them the Forever Young. Give her 3 times a day, mom and dad. Okay, we will. They're older. He goes on vacation. He comes back and Maggie had fallen back in her wellness plan that she was on. He's like, Mom, Dad, what's going on with Maggie? Have you been giving her the Forever Young? And they go, oh, we forgot to. So a whole week went by and they didn't give it to her. And he immediately got her back on it. And within a week, she was back to the Maggie that we knew at that point in her life. And she was,
Mhm.
and he lives in Beechwood Canyon here in Los Angeles. And those are hills. And she's climbing up those hills and all that. And
Wow.
he thought for sure that wasn't going to happen. But she was happy as hell to the day she passed. But she ended up living a year and a half, not a year and a half, like a year and 3 months longer than the vet had told him.
Mhm.
And once again, it didn't cure cancer. It just boosted her immune system so strongly that I think, this is my personal opinion, is it just slowed down. It was fighting the cancer and it was just slowing down the attack.
Mhm.
And it gave her, and he loved it. He says, you guys gave me an extra year with my Maggie,
Yeah, that's
you know,
awesome.
and that was like, and I was thinking, God, can you imagine if he did, if he was able to convince the doctor to do radiation or chemotherapy, what that would have done for her and her? I mean, that would have probably taken her out much sooner. You know what I mean? And
100%. Yeah. I love it when we can have a pet be happy, 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 gone. You know?
yeah,
Not the happy, happy, struggle, struggle, decline, 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 gone. I love stories like that.
and here. Okay, so we're gonna go pivot to another little story. So, what about anxiety? No more drama and being a sleep aid. Well, so cute because you're gonna love this. I don't know if she's told you this, but she actually took our No More Drama herself, and all our formulas are human grade.
Yeah, so you can.
My husband's had this yeast infection on he's had, like, I forget what it's called, but it's some sort of yeast that he's been fighting forever and he had no idea what it was. He turned around and he went on our yucky fungus and it's cleared up, and he has never had it cleared up in years.
Oh my gosh, that's
And it
amazing.
was because it fought the yeast that was going on in his system. So that's the Chinese herb. So all our formulas are all human grade. And so she actually she took it herself. She goes, oh my God, I was really relaxed. And I'm like, what I do with our No More Drama is at night when I go to bed is I'll take it before I go to bed myself. And it just makes my sleep, when I do fall asleep,
Mhm.
it makes my sleep so much more smoother.
Just
And
shut your brain. It like slows your brain down,
it
right?
just
Because
slows, it naturally just calms down your whole
yeah,
system and just kind of,
your
it's
neuroendocrine
just,
system.
it's amazing how it works.
Mhm. Yep, that's amazing.
Oh, okay, so here, okay, gave her little bot a chance to die. Maybe use, oh, what's that? Oh, okay. I
Probably about
think,
Maggie.
yeah, it did. Yeah, definitely. She was good till she went to bed one night and she didn't wake up the next day, and that was her transition. It was really peaceful and it wasn't hard. It wasn't really,
Mhm.
it wasn't really, traumatic for her at the end of and it wasn't traumatic for him. And he didn't have to like, make that decision. It just, she went
Uh,
peacefully,
yeah.
which is a hard one because I just had, one of my dear friends that I do another channel with, that she, we fight for kids. That's my other channel. And you and I really, Pam, we haven't talked about that, but my other channel, and that's why you see Scientology here every once in a while, is the fact that my other channel is around saving the kids out of Scientology.
Uh,
And because it's horrible what's going on in Scientology. A lot of people don't know. They don't know what's going on behind those doors. It's really a cult. And it's really sad to see what's going on. And so we fight all the time, but she just lost her little lady the other day.
mm,
And and she had that. She called me. She was at the vet and she called me. She's like, Michael, what do I do? They found that she had diabetes, talking about diabetes, circling all the way back to diabetes. She had diabetes, and it just was like, it was at a level that was so high inside of her system, it was just shutting everything down. And they
mhm.
were able to hydrate her enough to bring her home. And I said, well, that's great that you got her home. Now let's see how she does overnight. And let's, and because she was going to bring her back the next day to even see if they could hydrate her even a little more. But she got home, and then she ended up transitioning at home. And I said, how beautiful that was. Instead of you having to make a decision to, euthanize or not, because that's hard on us, when we have to get to that,
Oh, yeah.
you
Yeah,
know.
and I know that our pets have the ability to step out of their bodies at any time that they want to, and they come into this life with an exit plan already in place, whether we know it or not. Um, and when they take those opportunities to make that transition without our intervention, I think they do it because they know how hard it is for us to do and make those decisions, so
Yeah,
they make them for us. You know what I mean? They
yeah,
just take that worry and that guilt, if you will, off of
yeah.
us because they know how hard it's going to be and how much it affects us to do that. So it's great when they can do it on their own.
Okay. Well, we're getting towards the end, and you said this, and you remind me of my cat, and I talked about how I'm a little prankster, right? And you guys are gonna hate me with this one, okay? This is a horrible one, right? So I was dating this guy, and I'm a designer. I do events, and I was working on this big event, and we were like in the final stages of doing this big event, and we're like, and I'm talking about an event that was like $1 million event. Okay, it was a big, and it was a personal event, and so it was like a big, I was dealing with hundreds of vendors and designs and bartender. I was dealing with all that. So I was doing all that. So my cat, I could see that I knew he was at his end of his life. You could see it. He stopped. Like, once again, his food intake went down to nothing. His water intake went down to nothing. He started getting thinner and thinner. And I just saw that it was coming on. And I didn't want to euthanize him. I was like, no, no, like you said, it's like, and he knew that. And so, I knew like that night that something was up. I could just tell. You could see that he was talking to me in a different language almost for him. And he was like rubbing me a different way. And he was saying goodbye to me, and I felt that, and I was sharing that moment with him as well. And we just had this beautiful connection. So I laid him down on his bed, on my bed on a towel and all that. And I just put him there. And sure enough, I woke up in the morning. He had transitioned by the morning. And so, me, ADHD, how I am, I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? And I'm on my way to go to work and all this. And I'm like, well, I'm going to get him cremated like my other pet that I had. And, I was going to bring him to and I brought him to the cemetery once I did get him cremated with the dog that I had where my mom was, and I put them all together. But so anyway, so I had him there, and I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? So the only thing I could think of is that the apartment next to me used to be my grandmother's. In the apartment I was in, I created my art studio. So that's why we lived there. He's like, it's a part of it. Like, I lived somewhere else, but I had that as my art studio. And he was always there with me at my art because he loves doing art. He loved that. Right. So I decided I'd put him in the refrigerator just to
Yeah,
preserve.
yeah,
Right. I wrapped
yeah.
him up in his towel, put him in his refrigerator and all that. And so then I, the guy I was dating at the time woke up and he said, Michael, and he was like, where's Jet? I can't find Jet. And I'm like, oh, he's next door in the refrigerator. I said, because I'm going to have someone come pick him up and cremate him. Right. And I sat there and he goes, oh, okay. I was worried about him. Da, 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 da. Right. And I said, you guys are going to hate me on this one. I told you. Okay. So I superimposed the towel that he was laying on and him with a picture when he was alive and he was sitting up facing him. And so then I wrote to this guy that I was dating. I'm like, as a joke, I said, oh my God, what happened? I just got home and I went to the refrigerator and look what I found. And it was Jet sitting up like this, looking at him like, meow. And he freaked out. He's like, oh my God. That's how twisted my mind is sometimes. Roaches to transition kitties. I mean, it was horrible because, like, when you saw the picture of him in the refrigerator, I opened up the door and it looked like he was alive sitting there going, what am I doing here?
Oh no.
Oh, it was horrible. Okay. So there you go, you guys. We're at the end of the hour. I do have to get off here. I do have a meeting I have to go to here shortly. Pam, what a delight once again. And, we just keep growing our channel here and we just keep, bringing in these conversations and, people get so much just out of everything that we talk about. And that's what the beauty is of our channels. And if you guys are interested, be sure that you're following Pam. Let me find your link here. I know it's up here somewhere. Let me just put that back up here really quick. That's the Pets Journeys link right there. Amanda, can you pop up her link really quick for me so I could just pop that in real quick? Because I can't seem to locate it right now.
It's further up.
Is it further up?
Yeah, just a little further.
Oh, right here. Is this it? Yep, there you go. And you guys, here's Pam's link. Be sure to go there, follow her, follow us on all our channel. If you're not following us, be sure to follow us because we're here to help you guys. We're here, help us help you by following us and just bringing this information to everybody. And if you have friends that have pets and they're new pets and they want to know, different things that they can be doing, that's why we're here to show you alternative ways of treating your pets and having a holistic wellness for lifestyle for your pet. And remember, not just for your pet, have it for yourself as well.
Yeah, it works for people.
It works for people. Clear that energy, people. Okay, everybody, have a beautiful, beautiful night. Thank you again for joining us. We'll see you next week, next Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pacific time.
Same
and,
bat channel.
Yeah, same time, same bat channel. And have a beautiful week, everyone. I'll see you guys next week. Cheers. Bye, Pam. Bye, Aileen. Kitty, kitty, kitty. She's there. She's waiting for you.
She's waiting.
Okay, guys. Have a good day. Bye.